Present?
Jay, can you move your mic?
Oh God, it's way over there. That's what I get for not noticing. Start that over. Meeting is called to order. I'm amazed that people could even hear me before this. Roll call shows that all of the counselors are present and accounted for. Now it's time for open forum. So, you here for open forum?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, cool. So come up, tell us who you are, and let us know what you got. Either one.
Take your choice.
It's exciting to have like a real human being here. No,
I suppose it's probably been a while, hasn't it?
it's been a little while, yeah.
All right. Well, I just wanted to come here. There was discussions earlier in council meetings that I thought I might want to come and speak about. So I'd just start. My name is Nathan Carlson. I'm a lifelong resident in Grand Marais, and I'm also a truck driver up here. When I was a kid up here, the Gunflint Trail used to run straight down 5th Avenue West. And as a result of that, I have the great memory of a semi losing its brakes and running straight down 5th Avenue West and destroying Eccles Fish House. And I just get to thank God that no one was hurt or killed in that incident. And I'm sure many of us out there remember when this happens. I think that recent discussions about adding no jake brake signs around the road that was built as a designated truck route around this hill should concern the public. Jake brakes are an important part of a truck's running equipment. It takes the strain off of air brakes, which lowers the chance of losing them when braking heavily. They are loud, they're annoying. I honestly don't like using them, but I have to because it's a safety issue. And I would like at this point to bring out that at the end of the road that these signs are being proposed is the only highway on the North Shore, as well as a school which children are constantly playing 40 feet from the side of the road. I think it's important that none of us take this as a personal issue and we only look at it as a safety concern. And thank you all very much for your time.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
So that's actually a couple times the fish house went out, right?
Yeah, there were other times.
Yeah, there was one time when the big spruce tree got sheared off by a truck. You guys don't remember that? You might.
I don't remember that one. I remember the
The
one.
big spruce tree that sat next to the current restaurant there, Arlene Shelley's.
Yep.
Truck took that right off.
Okay.
That guy jumped out, but he didn't.
Yeah,
He
he
didn't
left.
make it. He died. Yeah.
Yikes.
The school part, just to make sure my bearings right, are we talking about GES?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
GES.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then, because you're getting really close to 61,
Yeah.
right, but, okay, thank you.
At the end of that.
Yeah, I'm sure I got that.
Cool. Well, and I think, just for your reference, I think that we have our, like we brought that to our council, like to legal counsel, and I think that at the next meeting, that's probably when that'll come up again for discussion if we have any need for it. So,
Okay, I'll absolutely be here.
cool.
All right.
All right.
I just wanted to bring it up. Thank you all. very
Appreciate
much.
that. Thanks,
Yeah,
Nathan.
thanks.
Thanks.
Anything else for open forum? Any emails or anything, Patrick?
Nope.
All right. Then we'll close open forum. Go to consent agenda. Consent agenda has a typical 3 things, and also apprentice line worker hire. So this apprentice line worker, there was a memo in your packet about that. This is something we've been talking about doing for a number of years. Found a good candidate from, strangely enough, from in-house. So that's also encouraging. Unless someone would like to pull something for discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Yes, I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a
Whatever
second
it
for
is.
that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion of the consent agenda?
There's a little bit of wording in the minutes from last time that maybe, but it probably doesn't matter. The only thing I'd throw out there is there was in the, and maybe it doesn't matter, but more the motion that Michael made and I seconded about the agreement for the soil and water. It says the Department of the Army versus like Army Corps of Engineers. Just, I don't know if it necessarily matters, but we obviously didn't make an agreement with the Army. So,
Okay. Good to know.
point of clarification, I guess, on that, but otherwise, that's all I noticed.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Yep.
So Kim, is that in your wheelhouse to correct that? We can approve the consent agenda and the agenda as amended?
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. All right, so is that we're motioning to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Yes.
Okay, and that's a
Oh,
second for that?
sure.
Motion and a second for that?
He seconded it. Oh,
You
yeah,
seconded it,
I'll
okay,
second
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go to any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, carrying. So, next thing on the agenda, we have potential bond refunding. So, the company that the city uses to do a lot of our financial work is Ellers, and our representative for that is Bruce Kimmel, who we have on the screen here. So what we're looking at is we're looking at general obligation refunding bonds in the amount of $530,000. And so my understanding of this, Bruce, and then jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, or expand on anything that we need to know, is that a general obligation refunding bond is basically we will be getting new bonds to replace old bonds at a lower interest rate, i.e. dumbing it down by saying we're refinancing our existing bonds for a lower interest rate so that we can save some money.
That's exactly right. Thank you and good night.
Score.
All right, great. So, so does the council have any questions for Bruce about this? Or Bruce, do you have anything that you'd like to just break down for us as we introduce into this bond issue?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I guess I would like to just hit a few high points. You gave a great introduction. This is a refinancing of the city's remaining GEO bonds from 2013. And that in and of itself was a refinancing of 3 different improvement bonds that had been issued for street projects, primarily street projects, and then a USDA loan that you had for sewer improvements. And so back in 2013, you put all those together, you kept paying those with some levy dollars, some assessments, and then sewer utility revenues. And all of those same revenue sources will be at play with this refinancing. All we're doing is trading out the old interest rates for new ones, and we're actually shortening the term of the sewer portion by a year to just make it a little more efficient and to bring the overall term of the refunding down to 7 years, which I'm pretty confident will generate even stronger bank interest. That's one other thing I wanted to note is that instead of going through a full competitive public offering for these bonds, we are looking to solicit bids from local and regional banks through what's called a direct purchase. So the winning bank will actually, the bonds will still be bonds per se from a legal perspective, but they'll essentially take this bond issue onto their books as sort of a quasi-loan, if you will. But they will give you a tax-exempt bank qualified interest rate. So the rate should be much lower than what they would loan money to a business or a consumer at. Let me just see if there's a few things. I did want to note that when you compare the old debt service to the new debt service on an apples to apples basis, we are estimating that the net savings to the city will be approximately $125,000 over the term of the refunding and including the avoided debt service that you'll have by shortening the refunding a little bit. We won't be getting a rating, I mentioned that, and that will save the city some money up front on this financing. We do monitor all of the city's debt and have kept in touch with Kim and Mike about that. We'll continue to do that. And of course, if there's any future opportunities to reduce your debt service going forward, we'll be sure to alert them to that. One other thing that's kind of nice about this bank financing, it only works for shorter term deals because banks aren't willing to really lock their interest rates out much past 8 or 10 years in this environment. But by taking away a public bond and replacing it with a bank financing, You'll also save a little bit of money on the annual compliance that you have with the existing 2013 bonds. So a few $100s per year, you will be avoiding those costs going forward. I did also just want to note, scrolling ahead to the debt issuance schedule, we're here for the pre-sale review tonight. We're looking to, as long as you approve going forward, we're looking to distribute the RFP to banks tomorrow and to get those proposals back on Tuesday the 26th, one day before your October 27th council meeting. We would, as long as the savings look good at that point, we would come to your meeting that night to present the winning bid for your award, and then we would close the financing with you and with the winning bidder on November 18th. And then finally, the old bonds will be paid off in full on February 1st of next year.
Okay.
I think that's most of what I wanted to cover. There are some additional pages showing the estimated debt service structure and other details on the back of the pre-sale report. But why don't I stop there and ask what questions you have about this proposed current refunding.
It seems fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
And
In terms of bond financings, this is kind of the equivalent of walking down the street and seeing a $20 bill and picking it up. I mean, it doesn't really cost you anything in terms of opportunity because the bonds are callable. And we're able to take advantage of the current interest rate environment to just reduce that future debt service. Oh, one other thing I should note, I'm sorry I didn't mention this. So you've had some prepayments on those 3 improvement projects that are part of the 2013 bonds. People have paid those assessments off early. And Kim has kept a really good track of how much you have in essentially surplus prepaids that are sitting in your bank account. And we are applying $307,000 of prepaid assessments to reduce this financing size. So we're actually redeeming 1.8 million of bonds, but we're only issuing 1.5 million because of that $300,000 of prepaids. So in actuality, I talked about the net savings being 125,000, but when you look at old debt service to new, because of that $300,000 that you're putting in, you're actually saving, in terms of future budgets, about $430,000 of debt service going forward. So, for what it's worth, it's a lot of money savings in future years, but the net savings are, quote, only 125 because you're using 300,000 of prepaids.
Right, and that 307,000 that I talked to Kim a little bit before the meeting, and we talked about that money is accumulated for the purpose of paying down this debt.
Right,
And
you
so-
can't use it for anything else.
Exactly.
Right?
So basically, using that money to help with the refinancing of these bonds basically decreases our amount that we're borrowing, and it decreases the risk of it. The amount that it's going to cost. So that's really cool. Kudos to Kim for keeping such good track of what that looks
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah.
And it looks good that we're taking care of that debt that we have, shortening the period of time that we owe on it, and limiting the impact to the levy on what the debt payment is on it. So that's all pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
A quick question about, so we're doing this, bank direct kind of direction instead of doing a full public offering. I definitely understand the savings that are available from doing it that way. How does this compare to doing a full public offering of it, as far as potential interest rates, potential expenses, potential savings for the city for that?
Yeah. I think if you were to do a public offering, certainly the upfront expenses would be considerably higher because our fee would be higher due to all the work that goes into an official statement. Bond counsel would likely charge more because they have more steps in a full competitive offering, and you'd have the cost of the rating. On the flip side, the interest rate would likely be somewhat lower. So we do sensitivity analysis and try to estimate, what are you likely to get in terms of a bank rate, where the bank rate might be a little higher, but you have lower upfront issuance costs, and try to get a sense of, what are the pros and cons and the cost benefit. I would say that based on a sale that we saw and that we conducted just last week for Roseau County, which was a very similar refunding, I'm pretty confident that this is going to be close to a wash in terms of cost benefit of one approach versus the other. Maybe a competitive sale would save you a few bucks more, but frankly, it's a lot more work for your staff. And so we absolutely have to take that into account as well. And so, especially with shortening that bond term a little bit, we felt, okay, let's go for it with the bank route. And the thing is if the bank bids just don't come in very attractive, we can always cancel the refunding. It's a lot harder to cancel a public sale. The market can kind of get mad at you for doing that. But with a bank deal, if they bomb it, then we'll just say thanks, but no thanks, and no cost to the city.
Okay, that's good.
Fair enough.
As you were explaining that, I kept looking and turning my head and looking at Tracy, because if Tracy is shaking her head, then I know that we have more questions asked, but she's agreeing with you on what you're saying.
It makes sense.
Good.
The time frame is short enough against whatever costs we might have occurred to go the other direction. If we had a longer term with interest, then we may have wanted to rethink this.
Right.
but it
Exactly right.
makes sense.
And again, out past 7-8 years, banks are starting to get much more gun shy about committing, and they're likely to have a higher interest rate in that situation. And so we felt like we're kind of hitting a sweet spot with this financing.
Very cool. So council, do you have any more questions for Bruce? Does anyone have any feelings about resolution 2021-14?
I like it.
I could. That's
Yes.
good. I'm glad you like it.
Go Bruce.
Go Bruce. Yeah. We're
Thank you.
cheerleaders.
I'll make a motion so we can get back to the volleyball game.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
there you
right.
go.
Thank you.
Good man. There's a
Priorities.
motion for resolution 2021-14, bond presale.
And it's good and clear. So thanks for putting it all together for us and showing up, Bruce.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
And is there a second for that motion?
Second
We got a second right here. Any further discussion? I mean, just a general statement, this is why we keep Ellers on, to keep their eyes open for possible refinancings that can save the money, or save significant money for the city. And also, dang Kim, well done.
Yeah, fair enough.
So that's all I have to say. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Wonderful. Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good
Have a
luck.
good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Those banks will come through.
There we go. And then
Yeah,
we've got
sure.
Kim again. Wonderful. So the next thing we have on the agenda is it's yours. ATV use in the city.
Oh.
Councilor
Yeah.
Benson.
So
Well,
we
let
can
me
have a
scroll up
discussion.
and
Yeah.
get to the right.
Scroll through that. We have to
spot
scroll
here.
through all of the
Boy,
academic
Ellers gave us
analyses.
a lot of pages.
Yeah,
didn't
they were-
Here we go.
They're letting us know how
I
it's
just
gonna
had to turn a
impact.
page.
There you go. There it is.
Boom.
Let's hope I can remember everything I read last night.
Tracy, can you?
Oh, sorry,
a little
certainly. About like that?
Yeah, perfect.
Everything you
Okay.
read last night?
I'm sure you guys spent last night reading
Oh,
this,
I read
right?
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I read it a couple of times, and I'm like, what? Wait, what?
Exactly. I tried first just to do my own little Google search. How can this be? Yeah.
What was that? Sent out by who?
Mike
Mike
gave it
sent
to
it.
us as a little. Oh, wait a minute. Did he send this to everybody?
I got it.
Oh, my apologies. I thought he was emailing this too, besides the fact that he handed it to me. All right, never
I've
mind.
seen it.
Yeah, I think-
Yeah.
We'll keep this
You can-
rather brief either way.
You can give me
Okay.
give us a Cliff Notes version.
If I could do that efficiently yet, reading through this. Well, so the thing is somewhat similar to the braking deal. It was a noise, and just maybe the easiest way is kind of citizen concerned about sort of noise and rowdiness and driving. And now that I see all the various vehicles that are not necessarily an on-road vehicle, complete with lovely photos
Yes,
in
very
here
nice.
that I had no idea. just, here we go. I know nobody can see this, but just so you know when you get this, there are pictures to help. Concern of it operating on our city streets, which they're obviously allowed to do, I think.
Well,
Which-
yeah.
But
I mean,
which led me to, what I did get out of is, okay, so you have this problem, but you don't know who that is, and you want to maybe make a call to the sheriff, but, no, they don't have nice clear license plates, right? Nor are they obligated?
They have to have a license plate on them. It's not
A full
it's-
plate?
Huh?
A full, not like a
It's
state
not
plate,
a
though, or a car
vehicle
plate.
size plate, but it is a plate that all ATVs have to get through the DMV.
Oh, not the DNR?
You get it through the DMV.
Okay.
I can't sell that at my store, I can only sell licenses, then you, same with you, at Boxers, the same
Right,
thing.
licenses.
But they have to be plated and they have to be up to date, and if they're not up to date, even in the back of your pickup, you'll get a ticket.
No,
Oh, I didn't know if it was even transporting them.
Mhm.
Interesting.
okay, so then they have, in this, by the time I get to the end, then I realized they have a nice little appendix chart to more easily help you figure out what is state regulated and what a city has even the ability to regulate, which is still highly community. But I'm not so sure that all the possible vehicles have to do that, have to be,
But,
have
yes,
a
they
little
do.
tag
Yeah.
on this whole list.
I didn't look at that list, I don't know.
Right, yeah, like.
But I have a
this is-
small four-wheeler, and I know I can't take that anywhere unless I have a,
Well, this
it's
gets
gotta be
into
licensed.
things like those little super mini motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh, and any kind of now electrical little vehicle, or those.
It's all
little
based on CC size, the size of
Yeah.
the motor.
Mini,
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
or,
under a certain amount.
Yeah.
and I'm not clear if that's also what a pocket bike
Oh,
is,
I
or.
have no
Pocket
idea what that
bikes
is.
pocket bikes are those little, like a little teeny tiny go.
Looks like a normal
Or
motorcycle,
little-
but it's like miniature.
Yep.
Well, that's, yeah, so what's the difference between that and a miniature? There was another listing for that too, small, whatever. Anyways,
Mike sent that
I
one.
started to feel a
Mike
tad
sent that? Yeah.
confused. And then I guess where the whole
that
thing
like
is, not that we
recently or
can
what?
make a
Yeah.
difference. But that's a
Okay,
really
I'll
small
look it up.
tag then, right, Craig?
What's
That
that?
you have on an ATV, it's pretty small, right?
You get a plastic
Thing.
thing about that bit, about 4x6
Yeah,
maybe,
It's like the size of a cell phone.
that
right?
you have to put on the back of your four-wheeler, and you have to put your licensing on it.
Yeah.
And then every 2 or 3 years that comes up, you have to relicensed it.
Sure.
It's not on the front, it's just on the
On the
back.
back.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at was,
But I
Is it-
don't know about the smaller, because I was driving home one day and somebody was whipping down 8th Avenue on a little tiny, I don't know what it was.
exactly, I
And
had
it
one of
was
those.
going
Yeah.
like crazy and smoking like crazy. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I've seen that.
It didn't, it had no taillights or headlights or, no, whereas the four-wheelers, from what I understand, they have to have brake lights,
Mhm,
headlights,
mhm.
and I believe they have to have turn signals on them, don't they?
Hmm.
To be
Maybe not.
to be street legal. I mean, that
It
was.
depends
that's
on
always
what
been-
size. See, I don't have turn signals on my ATV, but I have to have a headlight and a brake light. Now, the bigger ones, I don't know if there's a size difference, like the side-by-sides. Maybe they have to have turn signals. I don't know. I don't know the
Boy,
state regs on
This
that.
is
We should
this
look
is. Hey Chris, how much do you know about ATV regulation?
Well,
Not
okay,
very, not very much.
I think Sheriff Eliason would probably know that type
Right.
of stuff, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, no, maybe we can use this opportunity to get down to the crux of the issue. So, like, the crux of the issue is that
Issues.
we have people who are ripping around on really smoky, loud things that are probably not super safe. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Right.
if that's the issue, we're trying to get down to the crux of it. Like,
And then, so can they be on the street or not? I mean, what is allowed to be on the street? I mean, ATV is where my head goes, but now I realize I've seen these other things and I don't know.
Yeah.
And it looks like this is a really fuzzy thing, and it also looks that there's probably more vehicles we need to see the possibilities of seeing on our streets. But more importantly, if there is an issue, how do you identify them? How easy is it to see a small little 4x6 that's only in the back of a vehicle when you want to say it was vehicle number so-and-so as opposed to a license plate. That's kind of going through my head too. I don't necessarily know who this person is. I'd like to give a let's face it, by the time you called someone in the sheriff's department, they showed up, that little scooter's probably long gone.
Right.
And if you can't possibly even see a license plate to read off of, it just makes it harder.
So
But
is,
yeah, so it's maybe multiple things this is evolved into.
so is
after
it, the issue is whether or not they're supposed to be on the street? And that would be
Legally.
like licensing and like or is it like noise?
I think there was some noise in the complaint too, yeah. And then I don't know where that gets to, because I think ATVs are more better thought through about, like you said, what they have to be equipped with to be on the street.
Depending on
and
the size, yeah.
Yeah, and noise and all that, and then you get all these other little vehicles,
Right.
or what are you gonna call them, and maybe they don't have all the same issues, but some things can only be done at the state level. Some cities have ability to comment upon or make a ordinance for. I don't know if that's where we want to go, but it'd just be kind of nice to know where we're at, and makes me realize that maybe we have to be thinking ahead as we see other vehicles come and be utilized more.
Like segways.
Well, that's in this
That's in
list.
there.
Yeah,
That's
they're
right.
there, and of course, we have them all the time because of the Segway business, so that's not a new one on our streets.
Yeah.
But those little mini trucks are in here too. Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
those?
Mini
Yeah.
trucks?
Yeah, they're,
They're like
I must
little.
have missed that when I was looking through it.
They're kind of like the, do you mean like the bigger, they kind of look like they'd be used like on a golf course or something, like a utility truck?
well, I don't
Oh,
know
I think I know what you
exactly
mean.
how big they are.
It's
How,
like a
There's a-
side by side, but it's got a truck.
reminds me of something I would expect to see in Britain. Don't ask me why.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
see it.
Mini
Okay,
trucks.
I
It's
see it.
so, you kind of knew what I
There's a
meant.
little red one in
The one at the
town.
bottom.
Is there one?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So how mini is a mini?
their wheels are like 12. I mean, they're
they are.
they're small. Yeah.
So would they be taller than,
Yeah.
they would
I
be
mean,
still a
'cause
little bit?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
like tall, but they're just really narrow.
Okay. Yeah, I
Short.
couldn't tell from this picture, like, how small? Anyways, or golf carts, right? In theory, I guess, to me, this is one of these, yeah, there are some golf carts.
Well,
Well, anyways.
my understanding of this League of Minnesota Cities thing that you brought out is that depending on the vehicle, the city has a couple of options. Like one class of these vehicles, the city has no ability to actually regulate the use of them, but can declare certain usages. You know, it can say like, yeah, you can use it on the highway, or you can use it this place, that place, all that sort of stuff. And then the other side of it is when you get into these actual regulatable vehicles, then the city has an ability to say where they can't go. But that's like, but there's, you know, like most of our ability to be more restrictive than what the state has, it's not a lot in this category. Like most of what we can do is just be more lenient, you know, or like say there's more allowance in some situations. It doesn't seem like there's a lot we can do.
No.
is really the situation, other than try and create an atmosphere that's more you know, more appropriate for the use of some of these vehicles in certain places rather than others.
And I guess I'd like to know which ones really, well, I guess this is kind of on this sheet, but the definitions get weird. It would be nice to have someone like Pat just come and, you know, give you the 5-minute, reduce this down. Like who, because some of these, they don't even, like what, an ATV, you don't have to have a driver's license. You have to be insured, but you don't have to have a driver's license to be out in the street operating it. That's kind of freaks me out, because
This is
that
why-
mean that, how young, is there like an age thing to be on an
I
ATV?
think
Is that a
And
state
there's-
thing at all? I don't know.
No.
I think there's a course that they have to take,
I think that's.
and that went into effect at a such and such point in time,
Yeah.
the look-back period, where now everybody has to take, like snowmobiling, for example, you know, if you're a certain age right now, you don't have to, and you can go ride a snowmobile, you don't have to take that course, but if you go back to, I don't know, 20 years ago or whatever, now they implemented where everybody has to have snowmobile safety regardless.
Right.
Hmm.
So what are the questions that we want to have answered with this, Tracy? Like, are there certain things like, because this League of Minnesota Cities document has a lot of information in it about
Mhm.
where things are at right now.
Yeah.
Applying that to the city, what are the questions we want to answer? Like, what are the things that we're looking to address?
I would like to know exactly who has to have that, at least the 4x6 on their vehicle.
What needs a license, what doesn't need a license.
Yeah,
And some
and-
of the vehicles, you don't need a
Well,
driver's license if it's under, you don't need a motorcycle endorsement if it's under so many CC, what is it, 49, 50?
50.
49. 49.
Yeah.
That's why you see all those little.
You don't need a
buttons.
driver's license, yeah.
so.
Well, I know to a certain extent that the sheriff's department is enforcing some of this, because I did see just maybe a month ago, a deputy pull over a motorcycle that didn't have a license plate on it.
But that was a motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little
Which-
motorcycle,
Oh.
but it was a motorcycle nonetheless. So I know they're doing some enforcement on this, but maybe bringing it to the attention, getting some more information. I don't know if that's something, Chris, that's worth your time for us to do or not, but
I don't think it is, to be honest with you.
Right.
You know, most of this is governed by state law, and whatever we do has to be consistent with what is already in state law. In my view, this is a law enforcement issue.
okay.
And it ultimately comes down to people calling the sheriff's department if there are people doing bad things, or they think people are doing bad things.
Right.
I mean, you know, the city, you know, because the question for you is, okay, well, what does the city do with this? Well, you could enact an ordinance. Now, typically an ordinance involves some sort of restriction on the use of certain one or more of the, I don't know, 30 different types of vehicles that could possibly be used here. So you'd have to decide all that. And then establishing a permitting process for that. And, you know, again, that's a staff time type of an issue.
then
And so
enforce it.
ultimately, if what you're
Yeah.
trying to get at here
Enforce it.
is, you've got some people that have vehicles that are loud or otherwise are not, you know, allowed on city streets. You know, again, the best course of action here is to contact the sheriff's department and ask them to, you know, be on the lookout for this. And I get it that if somebody sees one of these vehicles, by the time they call the sheriff's department, that vehicle's gonna be gone. Well, the vehicle didn't disappear. Somebody is gonna continue to be using that in some way, shape, or form. Unless they're not in the community anymore, and then problem solved. But, you know, it seems to me that someone's gonna be using that, which means the best you can do is someone contacts the sheriff's department, and the sheriff's department, you know, cites them or tickets them. So, you know, ultimately, the question for the city is, does the city want to put together a regulatory program for these types of vehicles? And you know, as Tracy was noting, there are a lot of these types of vehicles, a lot of different types of vehicles. I mean, it even gets to, you know, motorized scooters and electric
E-bikes.
bicycles and, you know, golf carts and segways. And I mean, there's so many, you know, avenues that you would really need to look at with something like this. Now, like I said, this is all covered in state law right now in terms of licensing and license plates and those types of things. And so if somebody's driving around with a vehicle and they don't have a license on it, I don't know that the city can really do a lot about that, except call the sheriff's department and say, hey, we saw somebody driving around with this vehicle without a license.
Right. Well, that does sound like something that we can follow up with the sheriff's office about and get a little bit more clarity for messaging to the community. That also would probably be something that would fall into their wheelhouse, not ours.
Yeah,
I mean, certainly, you know, contacting the sheriff's department and basically saying, hey, we've had multiple complaints. We would like the sheriff's department to be more actively involved in doing something like that, certainly those types of communications would be probably a good thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds good. I mean,
No, that.
I can certainly send a text or send a message to Pat and get his take on it and see if there's something we can do on that front.
And I think the messaging part's important too, because this is confusing to read through till you start to get the concept of what's going on. You like you were saying, basically, you can't do a whole lot to interfere with what the state, you start to get the feel for it. You also realize there's a growing number of vehicle possibilities. We always just focus on ATVs, but we're missing it if we don't think about everything else, and just get people comfortable that they could see other vehicles and it is legal, or it's not, and then get all that messaged out. And then, like you're saying, then it's a phone call and call it in then if you don't. But just a nice summary and
Yep.
letting people know how to deal with it
That sounds good.
would be very helpful.
All right.
Thank
Well, we can
you.
follow up with Pat and we can see what we can get going with that. It's worth the conversation anyway, to talk about it. All right. So moving right along, council board assignments. So the next graph that we have shows our current board assignments. Kelly was on 3 different relatively significant boarding council appointments, and was also the acting mayor. So this is a good time if anyone wants to or needs to switch out of something existing. We can just give it to Tracy.
Wow.
Unload on Tracy, guys.
Well, wait a second.
And if you weren't here at this meeting, you'd get a lot of
You
assignments.
get a lot
Yeah.
of
Because
assignments.
I remember, I think that happened to somebody.
Well, Mike's not here, so we're just going to give him Mike's one.
Well, so are we just, so someone has an option of saying they want one of Kelly's,
Right.
right?
The simplest thing for us to do would be for you to take on the assignments that Kelly had, and then we can just go, great, everybody keep the regular assignments and go for it. If somebody would like to switch into one of these positions and you would like some other ones, we can certainly have discussions about that as well. So I don't know what the council's take is on their current appointments, but if we just want to have Tracy step into the appointments, I think some of these appointments are some of the ones you used to have.
They are. That was
So-
going to be one of my comments, except for the why, that was Dave's.
Yeah.
Right,
But,
right,
And acting mayor was Tim when you were here.
that's right.
yes. Yeah, active.
So, so what do we think? Really, this is done by motion, so whoever has the first motion that gets a second really is where this goes.
Well, I will make one thought. I would like to go back on the personnel committee.
Yes, and.
Sounds perfect.
Great.
After that, I'll let people, if there's somebody who wanted to do a trailer run ski or whatever,
So,
we could talk.
my understanding is that the North Shore Management Board is a tricky one to get to because they do it like once a quarter and it usually happens on a Wednesday.
Well, and we go down to Silver Bay or Tattagooch or wherever. Yeah, I've made those trips before. I was wondering now if they were starting to do more online.
I think they were doing it remote because Kelly did actually have some reports from those
Yeah.
from those meetings, which was great.
Yeah. So I'm fine with doing that again, and I would bug them for more Zoom. But like you said, if they conflict, then we just aren't there.
Right.
That's just, I think, the way it's always been.
I can't remember if we got those meeting dates changed or not, but anyway, so,
You're good with the Y too?
And, someone else has a real, or is there something someone, I'm just
yeah,
thinking.
that's why, just introduced it as if somebody wants to get,
Yeah.
if somebody's dying for the Y and is willing to give up something else, then we'd be good to go. But otherwise, I'm sure you'd be a good representative on the Y.
Get myself back up there more often.
That could be too.
There you go.
Good for me.
Win-win.
What are your feelings about
Right.
acting mayor?
Win-win.
Yeah.
There we go.
Exactly.
What's the council's feelings about acting mayor as far as,
Heartbeat away. Heartbeat away. Right?
ow.
Oh.
I don't think I'm gonna die.
Oh. No, I don't either. I'm just saying, it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Um,
That's not, yeah,
no,
good
it's
luck
not
finding
really-
any.
Damn it.
I don't think it's real wood behind you either, so.
If you feel comfortable with acting mayor, we could put you in that position too. Anton's done it in the past.
Hmm?
Haven't you done this in the past,
Yeah,
sir?
I was, yeah,
Sometimes
I did it.
Wouldn't you like to do that again?
That's fine.
There.
Because we get to
Anton.
vote again in January, so if, you know.
So then we can get back.
Yeah.
See, I can test it out for a while.
Yep.
Take
Okay,
it for a
so,
second test
so
run.
we're workshopping this, and we've got you on the 3 boards that Kelly was on, and Anton as acting mayor.
Okay.
Unless somebody else wants to do it, I don't,
Okay.
all right.
Okay,
All
great.
right.
So, can we do, what do you think? Should we do a motion for, can we do a motion for all of them? Can we just make the adjustments and then pass the adjusted list? I think that's how it goes. Yep.
Okay.
Cool, I'm just trying to remember that. So for adjustments, we have Tracy Benson on the North Shore Management Board, Personnel Committee, and the YMCA representative, and we have Anton Moody filling in for acting mayor. All the other appointments have stayed the same. Motion to approve this list would be great.
I would move to approve the list.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Yeah, yeah?
Tracy.
It just dawned on me. I don't know how Pete used to be on the Y board.
Is he anymore?
Well, it's still on his calendar, but I don't know if he goes that much.
You'd
Is
have
that
to-
an
but-
issue?
How often do they meet?
Check with the Y for what's
See if
a
he's still-
conflict. It might not be a conflict, because you're
Because
coming
you're
to
there
represent two
as
different
the
things.
city, not as a
Yeah.
person in the
he
Having
did.
two
community.
people from the
And I
same.
don't know, yeah, he hasn't, I don't know that he goes this much. Okay, I'll double check all that, just in case.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move forward, and then we can address it if we need to.
Okay.
When I was on the Y board for like a month and a half, but then I couldn't be on the Y board because I taught classes there. So I had to change it.
There you go.
Long ago.
Sure.
But, okay, any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Fabulous. Thank you, Tracy, again, for being on board.
Yeah.
All right. Council and staff reports. Craig, you got anything? You do, because there was a park board meeting. wasn't
I
there?
do. We had a meeting last week on the 5th. We had a golf report. About all I can say about the golf report is that it was a pretty good summer up at the golf course. The grass came back after we got some rain. And I think we're adding 3 new carts for, well, they're not brand new, but we're adding 3 more carts for 2022. That was a budgeted item for the golf course. For the rec park, it was a busy summer at the rec park, obviously, we already know that. KGM, well, the first phase of the boat launch was finished. KGM got the second phase, which would be the parking lot. That'll be worked on next summer. They did haul some gravel down there to fill it before they relocated to Duluth this fall. So that'll sit in limbo until they're able to work on it, which I believe isn't until June because of some water spawning fish type issue that they can't work in the water.
right.
And that's gonna have to be drenched and dug out to get the launch put in, but they'll be working on that in the next summer. What else did we talk about?
Did they take the snow fence down?
No, that's gonna stay up, but the gate's open.
Okay.
I drove down there the other night. You can drive through the gate, drive out, take a look at it. You can get out and walk on the concrete if you want to look
Yeah.
at it, but it turned out really nice.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a 2-tiered concrete
Yeah.
step, and it's really nice.
It's nice and wide, and then there's rock that's wider than the concrete, so it's not like you can fall off, fall into the water. I mean, there's rocks.
Yeah.
It's quite wide.
I saw people out there, but when I was there, the gate was closed and the fences were still up, and I was like, well. kinda
Yeah,
wanna
well,
do
the
it.
gate was open when I was out there, and there's no equipment down there. Everything is hauled out of there. So there's nothing that can get damaged or anything like that, but the gate, from what I understand, is gonna stay open.
Good.
Because we need to have access,
To the
the city
water.
needs to have access to the water pumping facility that's down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know next weekend's MEA, and the rec park is booked solid already for MEA weekend.
Wow.
And let's see, November, they already start booking for 2022, so they're getting those things set up. And we did have a meeting about rates, and I think we just kind of adjusted rates up 3% across the board. We went down the whole list of marina and nightly rates, seasonal rates, marina rates. 3% was, we thought was cost of living type. You know, the rates we were looking anywhere between 2 and 5%. We decided 3 would be a number to work with as far as keeping up with expenses for operating the park with the electricity and cleaning and you know, labor. Let's see, I think that's, I think we changed, the month of June, we're designating it as a peak. Part of the peak season. We took June and made it a peak season month instead of July, August, half of June, July, August. Because we're finding that June is a pretty busy month, you know. So we're kind of stretching the peak season rate. I guess that's about it. Looking forward to a good October, as long as the weather plays with us a little bit. It's been good so far.
Yeah, a little wet, but
A little
not
wet,
cold.
but we need the rain. We
Yeah.
need to get back the moisture that we lost this summer.
Mhm.
Other than that, anybody has any questions? That's about what we covered a lot. It was kind of nice to get the rates kind of set because we wanted to get that done because of the pre-booking starts already November 1st. So it's nice to have all that set in place before the people
Yeah,
start
that's crazy.
booking
Yeah, totally.
next year's travel plans. So that's it.
Cool. Thanks for that. Anton, any updates?
No, I don't really have much. We can save anything I have until the next one, if that's when we're gonna talk about engine braking stuff. Because I did talk to Pat about that.
Oh, okay.
About, I don't know what's gonna come out of our conversation with Chris, but, you know, so.
Okay. Tracy? Now you have actual appointments, so you'll
Yeah.
be able to bring things.
Can I cheat though today? I probably should have added to the agenda now that I think about it, because it's not really a report. Okay, I'm reporting on my meeting with Mike.
Okay.
How's that work, to get a
Good.
reporting? So I wanted to get up to speed with several items that are in process, and I didn't want to take up a lot of time in the city. But that did lead me to just a question or two. So, dog park, am I right to think that, is it pretty much settled that you're going to use a lot in the EDA, and then it's just a matter of design and size?
Not for dog park, but for the dog
I'm
pound.
sorry, I meant pound.
Dog
yeah.
pound, I think they already have a
They already
drawing
have.
of
They've
and a
got,
materials list and a price. I think we were placed as the biggest limbo thing right now, is that
and
right?
they got that squared away, like
Okay.
there's been agreement on.
Okay,
that.
we're waiting for the
Location.
agreement.
Okay, so that percent, and the only other thing he mentioned was they wanted a bathroom, but maybe that was cost prohibitive.
That's
But
probably
it
gonna be
makes
tough.
sense to me that they would want running water and you could throw a toilet in.
Yeah, I don't,
I mean, they have to look at what the impact of the cost is and what they can fundraise for. But I do think that, I saw one of the drawings, and one of the drawings had a bathroom in it.
Okay.
Then one of the drawings didn't, so I don't know what we're gonna end up with there.
seems
'Cause
pretty crazy to build a facility that doesn't have a
Have sewer
bathroom in
water.
it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. but-
It's gonna have sewer and water, so it's, on the grand scheme, it's not that big of a deal to add a half bath.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I didn't
Right.
think made any sense to, whatever. apparently, in the EDA part, that we still have the typical water issues, right? That you mentioned there were the typical.
Oh, stormwater stuff?
Yeah, you need to do
Yeah.
the
So the-
stormwater management.
If you
plan.
pick that spot.
Yep,
Mhm.
yeah, there has to be a
And
management
that's,
plan.
I think, been, part of what was good about that lot that was there was because of the area, it's because of the amount of wetlands that are not mitigated yet. What's left on that lot has been mitigated, so there isn't any impacts that would be done like on the wetland side of it. But there still has to be, to comply with the covenants basically, and what the agreements were on that, on buying a lot or having a lot up there, is that you have to develop and build out a stormwater plan.
Either.
Yeah.
But you already know there won't be a huge issue around it to
Well-
solve, is what you're saying, because you've already assessed.
Yeah, more so that, that lot, because of the amount of wetlands that weren't mitigated yet, and there's a very small area up front, like basically what would work perfect for the size of building, what we need, which is very small.
Parking, yeah.
For parking, you know, a couple cars and a small building versus a business that was gonna, you know,
Take
put
a
a
lot.
shop in, you know, I mean, even the vet clinic up there isn't very big, but you look at the amount of parking and the amount of impact, right, on that, and then that impact is what, impact of parking and the building, so disturbed land is what dictates your stormwater, because
Okay.
you have to, you basically can't send more water off the property than what, before you did anything, what it would be able to absorb.
Sure.
So
Okay.
the back, like 60% of that lot, wetland, can't do anything with it unless you buy wetland credits, which is, you know, nobody wants to do that. So the front part that's buildable is small, which lends well to the design and what's happening. And because of that, then the stormwater plan that will be developed for that will also be pretty small. I mean, compared to, you know,
Okay.
so that's where it seemed like kind of a perfect spot.
So most of the issues are fairly well moved along then.
For as far as everything that I've heard on the EDA side of it,
Mhm.
and the EDA's been working with a stormwater engineer specifically to work with all the different people up there. So instead of, it used to be, you buy a lot, good luck finding somebody to do a stormwater plan and somebody to implement it. Now they have like a single point person that's just working with all the different people to, yeah, to go through the process.
You keep it coordinated.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The other one was Kelly's initiative to set up a annual review process. Whether or not that included job, you look at the job description, I'm not sure, for a city administrator. And when I went back to ask her important things for her, that was number one.
Mhm.
And so we chatted about that, and the offer that Mike said was that, is that your office, Chris?
Yeah.
An attorney within your office? Or Mike could accomplish that. And I just want to verify, it seems to make the most sense. Well, two things. Number one, is the rest of this council interested in this?
I remember
Seems like
the
it.
expenditure for hiring the attorney from Chris's firm to do it was, I mean, it wasn't insignificant, but when you look at the fact we haven't done this for like 20 years-ish, it really doesn't look like that much money. And also, to have it professionally done, to make sure that it's done by an indifferent party, and by
Objective.
someone who has experience doing it. Like, we did have that proposal before us. We could bring it back before the council to take a look at it again, if we want to move forward with that. Also, you and I are the personnel committee, so we can sit down and we can take a look at that proposal again and see what action we want to do with it, if we want to talk about it before we bring it to the council. So, lots of things we can do.
Yep, so my thought would be to get an experienced objective, do it the right way, but I think it's just the right thing to do.
Patrick, can you make a note on that, see when we can fit that onto an agenda in the next month or two or something?
And then the last thing was a status on where all of that was with the liquor store development, and we chatted through that.
Boy, that's been, we were moving forward full bore, and then the pandemic just shut us all down.
So I got my summary. So if there's anything I still feel really strong about, it's making sure that the two things that make this town money get the proper attention they deserve. And I think we do a really good job with our city, well, tourist park, campground, whatever. And we're very mindful, and we have a big plan, and we, it's constantly looked at and thought through and whatever. The liquor store, not so much. And it is an important, and we are a city that actually makes money. And I think it's just awful that we're sitting here with the liquor store closed on Sunday. And why isn't there better management to make sure that it is open right now? Any other business would have taken care of this if it was treated like a business. And second of all, we don't have a long-term plan or a goal of where we're shooting for, and we're letting it sit. And the other broken record I've been from day one is state liquor laws are going to change, and we're not going to be ready for them. And then we're going to be reactive. And I've already mentioned before, Costco, Target, everyone else is a side store, and it's just a ridiculous little wall, artificial wall, right? Super Value has them now, and I'm not a big Super Value shopper, but that means it's encroaching closer to home. And the only way that this, to me, makes sense long-term is if we create a really great liquor store that we have a devoted market when anything changes, and they are the destination spot.
Yeah.
Like so many other businesses in this town, all the people who come here, they know, part of why they're coming here is there's certain places they like to go, right?
Yep.
And I think we're missing, and I think we've sat too long and not taken this seriously. And I understand the whole COVID thing, because that screwed everything in every part of everyone's life. But that's how I feel about it again. Just giving you guys the forewarning.
Yeah, I think
it
it's-
deserves some attention, and I think there's some more cost-effective ways to accomplish that than the last plan that I saw that had to be abandoned.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you saw
quick.
what that plan was for the liquor store, and what that plan was for the city,
Yeah.
city council, or like the city hall part of it.
Yeah.
Now, the discussion that at least I've had with Mike in the past, since we kind of mothballed that plan, was that we need to take a look at that plan again, and we need to make City Hall smaller.
Mhm.
Because if we're not renting office space to these different partner organizations, then we have no need for that space. And building that big is not going to do us any favors when we also view the technology that we've been implementing in our operations, and do we have expectations that we're going to grow significantly more than we already are. These are questions we need to revisit, and we need to take a look at that space and see if we can shrink it or make it more utilitarian for what we intend to use it for. Because, the truth of the matter with City Hall is that we've been working out of a 1950s design for the past, 60 years. And we've been making do with it. And if we're going to change to something that works, we need to find something that works well, but also something that's as flexible that it can last a long time and meet our needs for a long time. So, as far as interest rates right now,
Well, there's that whole
they're
issue.
pretty good.
Where were we at? I mean, I know that we'd had them scale back down, but what was the number that we were trying to get back down to?
We were,
Was it like
the discussion,
4?
it was just under 5.
Yeah, like 4.8 or something,
Yeah.
right?
That was where we were at with the last design. And that was
It's after
where we got to, right when the pandemic
After
hit. was-
reducing.
After reducing it.
Yeah, after reducing it.
Because it was like, how much a square foot?
Yeah.
It was-
700.
It was a
How
lot.
was it? Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, where we were is that we were like at the meeting to discuss the approval of sending LHB out to start doing architectural drawings.
Right.
And then the pandemic hit, and we were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that mothballed it.
But then we go from it wasn't at like 7 before 4, we're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, that was when
Well,
we
that
had
was
like
the first
that atrium and like the
Yeah.
additional offices and
Yeah.
the 75 seat city council chambers and all this sort of stuff. It was
Right.
pretty extravagant, but
Right.
but yeah, I think that taking another look at that would be not be a
But
bad
we
idea.
obviously gotta look at it, because I think the bathrooms, I don't think we did a very good job on the bathrooms.
Well, they just were like jutting out.
Yeah, I think that's a key component, one of the key components to that is public restrooms.
Mhm.
You know, I think it needs to be
Yeah,
important,
I would agree.
you know.
Can we put that, can you just put that on the agenda? Not, you know, like, can we put that in so that we maybe bring this up so we can,
See where we're
Discuss
at.
it.
Get,
See where we're at.
get an update. See
like,
where we're at.
if
see
maybe
what
we can
the-
just like freshen our minds again with like a look, I don't know if we have to bring LHB back in right away, but just to look at that last iteration,
Where were we?
to be like, okay, what are we gonna,
Is
like,
that
let's start up
available on
again
the
here.
website right now?
Yeah, like what is our real
It might be.
priority? What
Because
do
I
we
know it
really
doesn't
want to
seem like
see
a
with this land? I mean, where do these places
Button on
need
the
to
side there.
actually be?
I think it's
Yeah.
something like that.
And
Just
you know,
as a-
the
we
missed
have to
opportunity
speed
to me
somewhat.
was when we had a project manager to build up there, which is what I said then to Mike, was how much square footage do you need? We have a project manager. We can put a building up there that would suffice for City Hall more efficiently. And he started to go that path, but then for all sorts of wonderful reasons, it got like. But I think we've missed an opportunity then there to do that more cost effectively.
You mean up by the garage?
The land we own that has space by it,
Yeah.
that wouldn't then take up more parking down here when people complain about not having parking space.
So, Michael made a good point that report from LHB is right up on the website.
Perfect, thank you.
Too, so we can take a look at the development of that plan through the, you know, they've got, I think, four different designs in that proposal for what, yeah, there's 5 of them, for what could be possible. And then we can always workshop it more from there.
Sure.
But that's something, we'll put that on the list and see if we can,
Mhm.
when we have time to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Um,
She's got notes.
She's got something else.
I do.
She's got notes.
So this I'll just throw out and really, like, I kind of talked to Mike about this, but there's going to be lots of activity in downtown in the near future. And I probably use my language incorrectly. There's building codes, or lack thereof, and then there's zoning ordinances. And I'd like to make sure we're ready when these very significant, you don't do this very often, it's a lot of time and effort in these, if some of these projects materialize downtown in the near future, that we're ready for them because they are putting a lot of time and effort in to putting up a building per se, right? And you do that. So are we ready for that in our building? Like already what little we've had done, we ran into issues like no space when it comes to put their propane tank in a, you know, space to building or ability to properly protect it. What about their dumpsters? I mean, I'm just at a high level thinking about things like, and are we ready to make sure they do things the way we would like them to when they design their plans?
Yeah.
That are
Because
just typical to
well, some
maybe
of those-
many other communities. I'm not like saying we're doing something different, but we're pretty lax and sometimes not up to date.
Right.
Are we doing what we could?
Because those things you just brought up are already problems
Right.
right now.
And you just don't want to grandfather in
And
more.
if more building occurs on some of these lots that I'm hearing about getting bought up and gonna be built
Yeah.
on, we're gonna lose parking. You know, some of these lots are parking lots, and we're gonna lose parking, and then we're gonna be faced with the same problems that we have already with garbage removal, and if they go with propane or electric or whatever, you know, the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I'm listening to some of these designs and I'm getting nervous about emergency vehicles and emergency requests for service and access.
To a certain extent, some of this concern might be taken care of just with the administrative processes that we have in place. But that might be a good question to ask Mike about what, what kind of safeguards do we have in place for these sorts of things when we're, when people are asking for their permits. Because some of the permits have to go through us and some of the permits are administrative. And what's the process that those permits go through when they get assessed and then issued or not issued. So that might be a good question for Mike to see.
The only way we see it is if there's a variance request, otherwise we
That's the
don't
only
see
time we
it.
see it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So is our planning and zoning, then they don't see anything either?
Not if they're
Not on it,
straightforward?
just a building.
I don't know how to say that, but,
They don't see every building
Yeah.
permit or every permit.
I mean, if it's
Okay.
all,
If it meets the setback requirements, which is, and height requirements, then it
then
just
it's just
goes,
administrative.
then it's administrative.
Mike?
so then are we happy with, do we know what they are, and are we happy with them?
Well, I mean, that's-
That don't then, set off are we happy with the way people have to set up all their dumpsters?
I mean,
Or
I
cover
guess
them,
more
or,
so, I would say, I would ask the question, what is the process that we have in place? What are the things that fall into that approval category? What,
There you go.
what are those boxes that it needs to check in order to be approved on the administrative level? And that's something that Mike can answer for us when, if we want to ask him about that specifically. And we, it's our job to kind of give instruction for that too. So if there's things that we feel are important, then we can certainly have that as a feature, or have him, be checking for those things as well.
Well, and sometimes I think, it's not like I'm trying to reinvent the wheel. What are other communities already have in place that we go, oh yeah, there's a thought, I didn't think about that, but that's sort of standard.
Well, it's not like with the propane tanks, that's not us saying like, oh, that seems like a terrible place to put a propane tank. There's rules, like state laws, like
Well,
the state fire marshal sets up for like distance from building to, and property line.
Yeah, and my
Yeah.
understanding from what happened downtown was that, those propane tanks had, kind of always been there. And so then, when they were replaced, they just put them in the same place, or they just kept filling the same tank that's been there forever.
Well,
And it's,
But-
that's not exactly compliant.
No.
The propane tank company should be policing that as well, but.
Well,
Okay.
you'd think your
Well-
insurance company would be involved because I had that problem switching insurance companies at my house, and they went and investigated my neighbor's propane tank because they thought it was on my land. And it's not even on my land. It's not my propane tank. But they were concerned about placement of a 500-gallon propane tank. You'd think commercial insurance companies would be concerned that they're located in a proper position before they issue their insurance. So, I mean, I don't know. I just kind of think that it gets covered somewhere along the line,
But then if it isn't, and then there we sit, and then
Yeah.
now it's too late, because somebody's just built something and had it all designed and put together, and I'm not saying they didn't do a good job of doing that based on what they knew, whatever, but then we're sitting here with the problem.
Yeah, and we have the
That's not
standard,
easily-
we have a standard of public safety that we want to ensure, and the only process that we really have to ensure that happens is that administrative process that we have in place. So, yeah,
Okay.
I'd rather
I
be
see what you're saying.
proactive and work with them and not find out on the back end, because that's a lot of time and money spent for them.
That's fair.
Yeah. Maybe just as an administrative thing, we could just have Mike give us a report when people are asking for things or saying they're gonna go do something and it falls, it's not something that we have to do anything at planning and zoning, but just so that we know what's going on.
Giving it to planning and zoning, you mean?
No, giving it to us and let us know that.
I mean, I don't know if that, we need to quite do that. I mean,
We wouldn't have the expertise.
yeah.
I would have thought that'd be maybe planning and zoning, but I don't even know what do we have to help make sure in place now.
Well, let's have Mike tell us what is in place now, and then we can, we can see what we feel about that. And because it's, I feel like the process that we have in place now, at least in more or less recent times, has served us relatively well. And the point that you make is a good one, that we're going to have a lot of really unique projects coming up in the next couple of years. And that making sure that we have the process robust enough to ensure that those projects include the necessary safety items and regulation, whatever, then
Yeah, how you wanna-
is good. Yeah, it's good to make sure that works. So, yeah, we can touch base with Mike on that, and we can see what it is and what we can do to workshop that too. If we need to. If we don't need to, we're great.
And one more item, which is simply a question, because I've dragged this out, and I thank you all for patience. Kim, you can probably answer this.
She's still there.
She's going to talk. She's probably muted herself. Did we apply for did the city apply for some of the aid, COVID aid?
Oh, yeah. We
Thank
got
you.
all that. Yeah.
Okay, done then. Is that closed?
COVID-19 AIDS stuff.
I didn't hear the question.
Jay just answered it. You did apply
Okay.
for the COVID-related aid. Someone asked
Yeah.
me to make sure. I
Yep.
said, I don't know. I'll ask.
Mhm.
Yep, I think we got a couple $100,000, and then we had to send almost 100,000 back or something like that because we didn't use it. Something like that.
Well, the last round, we got around 75,000. We're gonna use it toward the water treatment plant.
Cool. Public health.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm done.
All right.
Thanks for your patience.
I've been receiving, we're having conversations about the highway project finishing up and all that, and it seems like the conversation I've had, people have been they've been saying pretty decent things about it, which is good. Other than that, I don't have much to report at present, other than just keeping up to speed on things. Michael?
Nothing to report?
All right. Patrick, you got anything?
I do.
Oh, no.
Ann Posses from the Public Utilities Commission has submitted her resignation, so there's no longer a quorum for the Public Utilities Commission.
Dang. So we need to find a PUC member like
Yep.
ASAP.
Yep. So,
Or two.
That way we didn't have a meeting, I guess.
like,
We
yeah,
didn't
there's
have-
not going to be, we can't have a meeting until
We
we get
didn't
one.
have a meeting.
So, like Michael always says, the best option is for you guys to recruit people, but I'm definitely here to help with that in any way I can.
How often does that meet? Once a month?
Yep.
First Wednesday of the month.
Yeah. And we're short two on that now?
Yep.
Will be?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, well,
And
that's.
then also, all the P boards, PUC, planning, and parks are missing people.
Okay. And pie beret.
We're short.
Well,
We're short.
there you have it.
Yeah.
Okay, community, we need some help. Jump in. Anything else, Patrick?
That's it.
Kim? Nope. Chris, you've got your mouth shut, so that must be, everything's good. Sorry, that sounded mean. I didn't mean it. We love you. With that said, we have
Wait.
all of our business concluded for the evening.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Oh, wait.
What are you gonna talk about?
The meeting before Thanksgiving is why I'm guessing that's highlighted on our agenda.
Oh, yeah, because I asked
yes.
about that. Are we going to meet, or do we want to change it to like Tuesday?
That's a good point.
Knowing some people could be busy making food that night, or
November
something, or
24th.
traveling.
Yeah, it's the day before. It's the
Yeah.
Wednesday.
That's probably not a good night to have.
So we could do,
Yeah.
with that month, we could, wait a second.
We just do Tuesday? The day before?
For me, it really doesn't make much of a difference, so if you all need to move it, then you certainly can.
I think I guess I can see if I have anything going on that Tuesday, but, I think that's,
Oh my God.
Well, do we,
Michael's got stuff going on.
he's got
apparently.
stuff going on right now.
Either that or we meet.
There we go.
So do we want to move it, to Tuesday? Do we want to move it to a different day of a different week? Or,
You either move it up a week or,
well, that's actually what I went to look at on my phone.
What does that do for like bill payment and stuff? Does that screw stuff up if we move it up? Right?
meet on the 10th.
Yeah, because we meet on the 10th, not
10th
the
and
weekend
24th.
next week.
It would be better to go to the 29th or 30th.
Okay.
End of the month, okay.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Well, we could,
We could do Tuesday the 30th,
yeah,
just push it back, because then the next time we're going to have a meeting is going to be on the 8th.
could do
Tuesday
that.
the 30th? Okay. Just want to make sure I heard right. Okay.
Okay.
Any different, anybody care 23rd or 30th?
It doesn't make a difference to me.
I'm okay with the
I'm-
23rd,
I'm open on both of those.
yeah, or the 30th, so.
Which one works better for you, Anton?
Yeah, I mean, let's do the 23rd. Or, excuse me, sorry, 30th.
30th?
Let's do the 30th.
Okay.
And that doesn't screw anything up with Bruce and, right? Because that, we'll be done with that.
Oh, that's
Let me double
right.
check.
Because we're supposed to review that, I think, on the 4th
Mm-hmm.
of November.
Well, that's right.
And then we don't really have anything to do on that, because we'll approve that.
Wasn't that on the 27th?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
27th.
October, yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I guess if, whatever, let's say the 30th, if you
Okay.
guys are fine with it. And then if for some reason there's something we don't know about,
We can discuss that another meeting at the next.
we could talk again next meeting.
Cool.
Okay, thank
That
you.
works. Glad that you brought that up.
Oh, one more thing, did everyone, I know Mike was on the list, did everyone else get the invite from North Span about the Build Back Better project and was able to give their feedback?
I think so. I think I did that.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
I get a bunch of emails from them.
Yeah.
I went to the meeting on Monday.
Cool.
Well, it's virtual.
Still.
And, I just want to make sure because our list was not particularly robust. It's supposed to be economic ideas, so it'd be great if other people have great ideas with a focus on digital, online, broadband-related economic
Mm.
ideas for our community. So if anyone's got their thinking cap on, it's not too late.
We typically just let it happen to us. But doesn't mean we couldn't have better ideas.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an idea.
Cool.
I submitted my ideas.
Great.
Wonderful.
Anything else? All right. Thank you for a good meeting. Lots of ground covered. Lots of things to talk about in the future. We
Thank
are
you.
adjourned.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye, Kim.